Magna truly got the Rocky Balboa like of fights within Black Clover. It's unfortunate for Dante, mainly because like if Tabata, I don't think if Tabata doesn't have something planned uh with Dante further, it'll be shown within the next couple chapters. It'll either be something from this fight that will indicate that Dante is going to get some form of progression with his character somehow. I'm going to do a video on that. I'm just going to do a theory one on that. Like expect that soon. I'll probably do that one later today and then post it tomorrow. But yeah. So the fight itself, I thought was actually really cool because in reality, with Magna, all he has to do now is pretty much work on this chain more, like so he can just kind of prep it faster and then train his physical body, because regardless of of equaling out his level of mana with his opponents, it's going to come down to just like straight ability, and then with physical strength, with Black Clover not having a lot of people who can actually deal a lot of physical strength damage and like withstand against a lot of like raw physical strength damage. He's got like a really good combo like here. And that's what I like about Magna, because I really would be curious if he was in a fight, like say he was really hurt, like he took a lot of damage setting up the chain, but he linked it. Would that kind of like put him back at like a state that he can keep fighting, because his mana would just like kind of surge up? I'd be very curious as to how Tabata plans on using the Soul Chain in the future. Its reach is a little crazy. The fact that it can go up to, Supreme Devil level characters. That's the only thing I would say that would be really weird. But it's like, it's not. He only got it on Dante because Dante decided to stand there. Because Dante has that. He has that horribly, double-sided aspect to have like people with higher speed regeneration and stuff, that they just become so reliant on it that they'll like just stand there assuming they can take attacks, and you get somebody with a good enough hacks and it just screws them over. That's pretty much what Magna did like throughout the fight. But like the totality of the chapter is a Magna chapter, and it really there's a moment in there when he's thinking to himself about the people around him. His thoughts on Asta have been exactly how I've always thought about Magna's character, and that's one of the things I like about this chapter in general. As much as I do enjoy Dante, like I think Dante's actually an interesting character. I like that he has to kind of get put down in order to get motivated to kind of just develop himself, because we saw it after his fight with Asta that he was interested in fighting him again, and there was something that would be beyond just wanting to fight like certain people and then overpower them. Like there seemed to be something that like he was gonna develop like as an interest in Asta, but I don't really know what Tabata's plans with him are. But I don't know if he just didn't let Magna hit him with that chain. If he just smashed him immediately as he came in the fight, he'd be good. But it's only because he just was like, all right, do your thing, and then get out of here. I don't even want to deal with you. If he just decided to take Magna seriously enough to just eradicate him the second he walked in there, Dante would be fine. So I really did like how this played out, as much as it is unfortunately a really bad look for Dante. It will set up right now, like I said, a point where we're going to see if Dante is going to have any form of larger kind of role within this arc, or if he's done. If he's just, a powerful enemy that is on their side, that Tabata just uses this like a fight character. So we'll see on that. Like I said, I'm going to do a video on it, because if I'm right about what Tabata is setting up for him, it will be really cool. But I mean, like, it's a wild theory, essentially, that I'll get to. Either way, like, it just starts out Dante's a little bit insulted that Magna has knocked him down, has put him on his back, and then he starts pulling in terrain from all around the gravity, throwing at Magna. Magna's just kind of punching the debris. Dante forms a sword and then starts trying to fight him again. And this is like one of the things about this fight that I'm really hoping if Tabata does continue with Dante, he has Dante like actually learn how to fight. Because we see in this like he's too reliant on his magic, whereas like we see Magna with like a lot of technique in how he's actually like moving around, and like technique and form in his like attacks and stuff with his just, you know, powered up melee attacks. Whereas Dante is just kind of boosting himself up and throwing attacks. He's way too reckless. Like if Dante had more technique to him, like if he was a trained physical fighter, like not even having to be, you know, some master class kind of guy, but if he just trained himself to where he could physically fight, he would have the form, I think, to overtake Magna. Because in reality, the thing about this fight, like the way that it's set up, where Dante is just spamming powerful magic spells, and he's never had his magic like essentially this low while equal onto somebody, so he's not paying attention to his mana. And he and Magna both run out because, you know, they're just using up all their magic in a big melee attack. And Dante, like, imagine if Dante just used his body magic and then fought with like technique. Like if he just made himself really physically strong to where he could just throw powerful melee attacks. Because he, like, Presence of the Demon King wasn't working on Magna. It was very clear like his gravity based things weren't gonna work. So if he just decided to focus on his body magic, and it's one of the things about Dante we know is that he doesn't like to use his body magic. So if it would be one of those things where it's like he realizes he could have won if he wasn't so, like, if he wasn't being so kind of like reckless with his mana usage and then not using his primary magic, it'd be a really cool thing, I think, for Dante's character. But I'll go more into it in the Dante video that I'm talking about doing. Either way, they come down to just a raw physical match. And again, there's not a lot of characters, I think, in Black Clover that could really work through this chain in the way that Magna is using it here. Like, there are people that would be able just to use, like, their own hacks and still win. Like, imagine him locking up with Julius, and then Julius, like, I'm assuming Prime Julius, just in the hypothetical. And it's like, okay, Magna's chain has evened them out, but it's like he can still just instantly dust him with like a time orb, or someone like Langris who could still just spatially wipe him out. You know, people with like really dangerous magic that wouldn't give them the opportunity to physically brawl. But the people that don't have stuff like that, don't have a way to still kind of just hacks their way to victory. Like Magna just getting in a raw physical fight where then eventually it wears down to no mana, just base body. Like, that's actually a really good thing to have in Black Clover, if he gets this chain off, this prep. But, again, the thing back to him getting off on Dante is, I think any character fighting seriously at his level would just dodge and move out of the way. They would see that chain, and they probably wouldn't be like, I'm gonna just let that thing hit me. Like, Dante seems to be caught off guard when the chain was coming at him, not like he had all the time in the world to let him hit him. But I think they would be more alert, because he was just deciding to not take Magna seriously, and that, you know, screwed him over. Again, if he just decided to, the second Magna came in the room, he just said, no, get out of here, and just gravity smashed him. Like, Magna would be, you know, he'd be unconscious, like, outside. Like, it's one of those things where you can understand why Dante would do it, because you have the context of his character. But, man, I do really wish that he would, like, again, if Tabata does plan to do anything more with him, it's gotta show soon. But the stuff with Magna specifically, I did really like the flashback with him talking to Yami. It was just a really short moment. It's like, there's this stuff with Luck, how Luck already has, like, all that talent and stuff. Like, he's a commoner, but he's got, like, all these talented abilities, and then, like, since he got reincarnated with the elf, he's gotten a lot stronger too, and then obviously he went to the Heart Kingdom and got all this stuff over there. And now he's got ultimate magic. Like, he's got a lot of these things stacking up. And then he also goes into talking about how Asta, who is a peasant, but he's got anti-magic. And that's one of the things about him that I really like about Luck and Magna. Because Luck and Magna is like Asta and Yuno without having the, the primary characters in the story trait tied to them. Because obviously, you have the same setup with them. You have, you have these two. One of them is really talented, or one of them is like really hardworking. The difference, obviously, Asta and have way bigger scale roles that they are gonna, scale way higher and go through way more crazy activities. Where Magna is the same as Asta, but he doesn't have. I almost coughed. I caught myself. He doesn't have rather the main character power. He doesn't have the main character status. He's just a dude who is working like his ass off just to try and keep up. That's one of the really cool things about him. I compared him to he's the Joey Wheeler of Black Clover, and it really fits on there. And that's this whole win that he had here was a really good step to it, and it just I think it really adds to Magna's overall character. But the stuff with Yami, when he says like, oh, thought we had things in common, and then also, you look like the gutsiest one out there, and it's really cool just to see Magna's whole thing of his just like level of grit that he goes in like fights, and the like the level that he's outputting. It is really cool. I really like him as like the as the big like Yami hype man, and he's given like this whole thing of like, yeah, you look really gritty, and he's just in fights. Like his whole big developed idea like was to even them out and then get in a fist fight with them. Because Magna, like in this fight, he's not throwing fireballs, he's not doing any of that combo, he's just getting into a melee combat fight. And I think that's really cool, the way that he has all this setup. It's nothing crazy in like the scale to do it, or the scale that he looks at it, but it's the way that he achieved it. Obviously, is like through a really complicated rune and with mana method, the way that the whole trap magic is like set up for commoners. It's just really cool how he connected this extremely hard and long developed trap to do essentially just get in a fist fight. So Magna really just had this whole Rocky Balboa style of match and setup of this nobody going against the champion. And Magna, Dante, I mean, technically he's not a champion. Obviously, he lost against Yami and Asta. I mean, he beat them individually. It was a 2-on-1 fight. And he is still technically a king. So, pretty much. Now, this is like his first, I think it's like, this is his first like real one-on-one loss. Because again, Yami and Asta teaming up had to happen for him to lose. That's the thing though about Dante power level wise. He's still a really powerful dude, but Magna just had this again really well developed trap to even the setup. And if when they go into the point of their fight where neither of them have mana, it just again is a showing that when you're too reliant on magic and then you get to a spot where you can't just actually fight, this is where Magna's trap, I think, is at its most dangerous. If you've gotten to this point. Because, like, imagine if he used this on, someone like, someone like Nebra or someone, or like Solid or any of those guys. Like, any of those high-level royals that clearly are not physically built. It would be such a crazy thing to see him then get down to that far of the fight. I mean, I guess he probably wouldn't beat one. Actually, no, I think Magna would just be probably pissed off enough at the end of the fight. He's just throwing it hands into anybody. But, yeah, him against Dante, I think, was a really unexpected fight. But I really like how Tabata did it. My personal opinion, though, on one half of it will really depend on if he shows any further plans with Dante. Because if this is going to go into development with Dante in some form, that I'll be really happy about. The way that this whole fight goes out. If this is the end of Dante, it'll be really unfortunate. Just because it's still a really cool part for Magna, but it would be a really unfortunate end for Dante. And so, like, anybody who's a fan of Dante would be, it would just be kind of an anticlimactic loss for him. Like, he's a character I would really hope that his end, like his end of the role in the story, assuming that, you know, whatever, you know, Tabata doesn't have anything else planned for him, it's just going to have him get beat up a lot. It'll just be a shame, but it would suck if he doesn't go out through, like a really cool fight where he dies. Other than that, like, if he's just continuously getting beaten up, I don't know. And again, it will really depend on whether Tabata has a plan for him within the next handful of chapters. Maybe not like literally next 2 or 3 chapters, but whenever we really see him again, I think there has to be something for him about the fact that he just lost to, he lost to a peasant. He lost to a super low level dude like Magna. Because in reality, obviously, like I said, if he just took Magna seriously enough for like a second, he would have just smashed him and defeated him. If he just presented the Demon King him at the very start, he would have won. But he decided to be too careless, too cocky, and he got caught in a hacks. And that's just how hacks can work sometimes. Which, I think Xenon, like, if you put him with Xenon, I think Xenon would have immediately stabbed him, or like Vonica would not even let him get close to him. But at the same time, I feel like you use it on Vonica, she's just going to curse you, and then you're going to probably just die that way. Either way, it was a really good point for Magna. I'm hoping this does something for Dante, but we'll see. That's just going to be one of those wait-and-see things. I'm going to do that whole video on him soon. It's going to come down to a wild theory just in the idea of what I think Tabata's doing with him. Maybe I don't know if we're gonna get enough that would debunk it within the next few days, but we'll see. It would have to be like immediate spoilers of like Wednesday or something that say like, oh no, something completely the different direction with Dante to ruin it. But I don't know. I feel like after this, we're probably not gonna see Dante for a bit, so Dante stocks are gonna fall. But they could return. It all depends on Tabata and what Tabata has planned for him. We'll see. Anyway, other than that, though, comment below. Tell me your thoughts about this chapter. And what do you think is coming up? I'm guessing the Xenon fight is next, though, because the difference between all of them is if Dante isn't like a much bigger fight, considering he's the one that led the coup against the Old King against Yuno's dad, then I don't really see the fight with Xenon anything more than the guy who attacked the Golden Dawn base. I don't think it'd be like some grand win for the old Spade Kingdom taking back the Spade Kingdom. So the only one of those fights I see being like really big and important to have like a larger scale battle is Noelle versus Vonica, because Noelle, on the other hand, does obviously care about the person who killed her mom and who took Lola Petrica and stuff like that. I think that fight, out of the 3 fights, I think if the Dante one isn't the biggest, then I do think it has to be the Vonica fight, because the one with Xenon, like I said, if there's nothing that's gonna tie into having like a defeat that also would be like for his family, like defeating Dante, like I said, I think that should have been like an Asta fight, maybe, if it was done in that way. But it's clear I don't think Tabata's doing that way, and already said he doesn't really care about any of the Spade Kingdom background. He's a Clover Kingdom Magic Knight, so I don't think Tabata's going to do anything like that. I think that the versus Xenon fight is gonna like be in Yuno's perspective, and like the way it's gonna be is entirely fighting him for what he did with the Golden Dawn base. But the Vonica fight, I think, has to be a lot bigger in what comes up. So we'll see. I think Morris is gonna have to pull up some new trick. There's gonna have to be something that he does in order to really set things into a good threat level again. Because if it's down to, it's back to like a day per gate, then Asta's going to be back to Union mode in a half hour. So I think Morris has to pull out something soon. There has to be some new trick that he does. Since Dante is out, if they're going to only have 3 people. But we'll see. He's got his you know, he's been inside of Little Pichiga's head for a while, so he might have found something new. So we'll see. Anyway, other than that, comment below, thumbs up the video from the like button, subscribe button, check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate everybody's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening.